Hi experts, I'm Genia and I'm currently doing my third business, my third startup. I also helped numerous experts to start and grow their business online. Today I want to recommend you my favorite 5 books that will help you to be brave enough to jump into the journey of entrepreneurship. And ask me, maybe you're interested in some other top 5, top 7, top 3 books and different topics around entrepreneurship or building products, because I love these books when you learning on someone else's mistakes. The book number 1, the book that I always recommend to everyone who wants to start their business, is The Hard Thing About the Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Why I love it and why it's the first book that I recommend. There's lots of romance around being an entrepreneur or a startup founder or a solopreneur. We usually read these cool and nice stories how you started and you were immediately successful, so-called overnight success stories.
Overnight success, never had a damn fight in his life.
And it may seem that everything is so easy, why don't I do that? However, if you ask people who actually doing or were doing business, there are lots of sleepless nights, broken hearts, and other hard things that we don't know before we try. And I'm a big believer that you are successful when you are prepared. So I do recommend you to read this book. A very successful person with very great entrepreneurial experience, Ben Horowitz, tells different stories about what it is to have your own business, to start it and to grow. It's a very sincere book, but it's also hopeful. It gives you hope. Not everything is as bad as maybe I described a couple of seconds ago. And once you read it, you will be ready for this journey, and I'm pretty sure you will be successful. And even if something goes not as planned, you do understand after reading this book that so many people went through this journey and they were able to become successful. The second book that I recommend is Lean Startup by Eric Ries. This book, I call it a Bible for startups and for software development. But it's not only about software development. The ideas that are there can be applied to any type of business. I work a lot with people who start their knowledge-based business, and it's pretty much the same. What I recommend them is pretty much the ideas from this book. So basically what it talks about, spoiler alert, is that we want to move as quickly as possible and then iterate on the customers' or users' feedback. And there are different examples in the book and it explains why, but basically almost any type of business, maybe except big pharma, when you're very responsible and you need to do a lot of tests before launching some drug on the market. But if you want to start a course or offer consultancy or start dropshipping and design some t-shirts, you can take the same ideas that we take when we build a startup. Basically, ship the first version that you're ashamed of and then start gathering feedback and also test if anyone even needs this version of your product or service, or maybe not. This is why actually I like to recommend Introwise to people who want to start their knowledge-based business online, to start consulting, because with Introwise you just spend 2 to 5 minutes to set up different services, different prices, different durations, offer different group classes or workshops, and then you throw it to the audience, to different communities or your followers on social media, and you actually test what people want, what they will buy. Because a secret, and this is also what the third book is about, that what people tell you they will buy or they want to buy is actually not always what they will buy or use. So don't waste time, preparing, building these websites and building something huge, a rocket ship, right? What the Lean Startup book teaches you, not like that, launch, get feedback, launch, get feedback. So if you want to start consulting, just go on Introwise, like set up your booking page in 5 minutes, go check your proposals, is the price right, are the services that you're offering are interesting to the people, and if you see some interest, then you can double down on that and build a product or a service that people actually love and come back to buy. The third book that I recommend, and I already hinted a little bit to this book, is The Mom Test, and let me read the whole name of the book. The Mom Test: How to Talk to Customers and Learn if your business is a good idea when everyone is lying to you.
Is he lying or are you lying?
And this book is a Bible of customer development to me, and I'm really heartbroken that I didn't read it before I started my first business, because it was very expensive to learn how to conduct customer development. Basically, we just lost all our savings, but we learned. But now, if you read this book, it's a very thin book. You will be so successful. You will know how to talk to your potential customers without losing all your savings, right? So this book is teaching you with really great examples on what questions to ask when we want to validate idea. And that's why earlier I offered you the idea of using Introwise to test your consultancy business, because one thing is asking people like, are you interested in becoming a better person? Are you interested in learning to read faster? Are you interested in becoming healthier or slimmer? Like, of course every person will say yes. I mean, it's almost like if you're asking all smart people exercise, do you want to exercise? So it's a human psychology, so you don't ask like that. And you know, some universities teach people at marketing courses to ask questions like this. Like, what this book teaches, and this is gold, is that you always ask people about their past recent experience, and then you dig why. You never ask, do you want to exercise? Most people will say yes, because it's weird, right? Society is looking at us like every person wants to exercise. But what you actually should ask to get valuable data for yourself is, when was the last time that you exercised? And then you go and ask like what worked, what didn't work, or what was the last tool that you used for scheduling. Okay, what worked, what you liked, what didn't like, and so on. If you just ask like, do you want your calls magically be scheduled without any action of yours? Every person will say yes, but then imagine you launch the whole product that you built for a year and nobody uses it. Quite sad. So definitely read this book. It's very thin, it's pink, you must read it. The fourth book I want to tell you about is Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore. This is quite a classic. It's not this new and shiny book. It's a book that has been useful for years and generations of business. This book teaches you how to grow, how to scale your business. So with the previous books, you learned how to start, how to validate your idea, service, or product. And then imagine you're happy, you're super happy. Their first early adopters, their first group of people, or your friends, or people from your community, or from your followers on social media who love your product, service, or idea. And then you want to scale your business and become a very successful entrepreneur and to help more people with your product. How to do that? It's actually not that trivial. And that's a very interesting part of being an entrepreneur. I remember myself with my first business in the very beginning, in the point A, and it was hard. And I remember thinking, and believe me, many people do the same thing. I asked, you think, oh my God, okay, it's so hard here, but when I will be at the point B, it will be way much easier. Then magic happens and you get to the point B, and then you're like, oh my God, I didn't know it will be so hard at this stage. Okay, I know that when I will get to the point C, it will be easier. Then you get to the point C, and well, you understand where I'm going with that. So this is this miracle and magic of entrepreneurship or solopreneurship, that the more you grow, the more you achieve, the harder it becomes, or maybe not even harder, but there are different types of problems that you encounter. And this book, Crossing the Chasm, is basically teaching you how to move from the early adopters who absolutely love your product, to the early majority, and then later majority, and to take over the market. It's a very different set of problems to solve, and this book is your friend number one, probably among the books in this encounter. And the fifth book I want to tell you about is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I chose this book because almost all of you, I imagine, know about Nike. And when we think about Nike, we think about this big successful company, right? Almost everyone heard or owned a piece of Nike products, sneakers or sport t-shirt or whatever. So for us, Nike is a successful company. There's no question. But do you know how they started? Do you know what problems were on the way? So it's very, very interesting to read about it, and I was listening to the audiobook. Again, I recommend this audiobook. It's very, very good, well narrated. And it's again inspirational because you hear about all these problems on the way, but you know that the company is successful, right? So you know that there's something good at the end. And you get inspired, and I love these stories very much, and also about failed businesses, but maybe that's for another time. So these are the 5 books that I believe can be read in this order as I listed them. So we started with why it's hard and why you need to be brave and prepared to start your solopreneur or entrepreneur journey. Then we'll learn how to iterate and validate your idea fast. We'll learn how to talk to the people to learn what they actually want and buy, not in their fantasy or in love and respect to you. Then we'll learn how to scale and grow your business when you already found your first success. And then again, we ended with this very inspirational story of a huge business, Nike, that we know of. And this is pretty much everything you need to start your entrepreneurial journey. Let me know in the comment section if I forgot some amazing book that you really, really recommend to others to read. Stay